All right. We're live and we're back. Welcome, you guys. Let me just check settings really fast. That's good. That audio looks good. All right. Should be doing good. But if any buffering occurs, if anyone is noticing video or audio issues, let me know. Hi, Yara. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm not going to give it too long because I'm running a little bit late, so sorry about that. As you can probably see behind me, it's been a bit of a hectic morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. Yeah, so good to see new and familiar faces alike. They definitely got the zoomies. Mm-hmm. Help. Good to see you, Sarah. I am excited to meet soon. Mystical, Tammy, Lee, Tracy. Oh my goodness. Long time no see. Sweet Sloth, Francesca. Hello. Welcome. So good to see so many familiar faces. Carrie, I was just thinking about you the other day. Good to have you here. All right. Well, shoot, we got a lot of people joining the live stream, so let's go ahead and jump on in. Because, like I said, I know I'm running a bit behind and want to already got so many good questions that have rolled on in. So let's get started. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope your weekend is fabulous so far. I hope you're having a relaxing Sunday, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever in the world you may be. And again, sit back and relax. We're going to have another live Q&A. It's good to be back. I know last week I was out of town for some family arrangements, so the time constraints. But we are back. There are kittens behind me. I figured they are going to be going up for adoption on Thursday, so figured I had a few people reach out requesting to see them. So they will make appearances in the background. They'll be zooming around the place. We're just going to hang out. We're going to talk about manifestation. We're going to talk about the law of assumption. And as always, I'm here to answer your questions and help you have more clarity and understanding so that you can apply these teachings in your life to see the things that you desire to see change. Not a whole lot as far as like any announcements go, except that the one-on-one waitlist is going to be opening up again this coming week. So if that is something that you're interested in, if you're interested in working together, you can find that information down in the description box. Yeah, I'll be also sending out an announcement before the sign up, so it is not too late. If you need any more of that info, check out down below. Just took the whole damn toy with him. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. From Athens. Oh, we got a friend. Say hi. Look at how big they've gotten. They're 9 weeks old today. Mystical, you have a really good question. Hi, Missy. If the subconscious mind is impressed one time, isn't it guaranteed to come to pass at some point? Or do we really need to make it an assumption? Excellent question, because I know that this can get somewhat confusing. So, yes, it is. We only need to make one impression for something to come to pass. That seed only needs to be planted one time for it to come to pass. That is true. That is why we can see something materialize that we may not have had full conviction in or even really given much of a second thought. Like we can have a thought about something and then it shows up. That said, we have the ability as well to uproot that seed. So what tends to happen when we're double-minded is we are going back and forth So we're to use the analogy of planting the seed, we're planting that seed, then digging it back up, then planting that seed, then digging it back up. So that's what manifests to us, what appears to us as like a time delay. So that said, yes, it only does take one time, and if there is no back and forth, if there is no double-mindedness, you plant that seed once, it will come to pass. But that's kind of why we ideally want to imagine, we want to recondition our beliefs and assumptions, because by default, those are the seeds that we're planting, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying that you have to have. Oh my goodness! Get out of my purse. Sorry. We don't have to have full-throated conviction, but when it comes to our desires, when it comes to the things that we really want, it is going to be in our best interest to have our beliefs and assumptions lined up with said desires. I hope that makes sense. But let me know if you need me to elaborate any more on that. That's not yours. Nope. Not yours. God. All right. What should we do during the day after SATs? I tried to feel the wish fulfilled, live in the end, but I don't feel any feelings, good nor bad. Is this the Sabbath? Good question. I think that two questions there. What should we do during the day after SATs? Um, as far as like techniques are concerned, or just like maintaining the state, there's really nothing to do. We during the day-to-day hours, we want to be observant. We want to, just be mindful of how we're feeling, the thoughts that we're having, the reactions that are coming up. But I mean, try to feel the wish fulfilled, live in the end, but I don't feel any feelings, good nor bad. Is this a Sabbath? It could be. So the Sabbath can feel pretty neutral. It can feel, it's not always this feeling of like overjoyed or, big, huge emotions like that. The Sabbath typically feels pretty low key, pretty calm. The biggest indicator of the Sabbath is the feeling of it's done, that there's nothing left to do. Um, you're likely, if you're in the Sabbath, you're not even really going to be thinking about it so much, and if you are, it's going to be from a place of, yeah, of course, right? So we're not going to be noticing double-mindedness. We're not going to be questioning ourselves. We're not going to have any kind of feeling of needing to do more things. If that, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, it can certainly feel pretty neutral. It's a calm. It's not anything, anxious or stressful. So I think I would ask myself, how do I feel in terms of my desire? Like, what are the things that I'm noticing coming up when it comes to the thing that I desire to manifest? Like, am I noticing any confliction there anymore? If not, I would say it's a good chance that you are in fact in the Sabbath. The kittens are so precious until they hit the 6-month mark and turn into little demons. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is truth. They are adorable little hellions. Yeah. Glee, I'm curious about your question. Happy Sunday, Missy. Why does thinking of my desire externalizing, although feels real, but not convincing? Example, people being nice, but for malicious intent. Why does thinking of my desire externalize? So And I think I'm understanding what you're saying, but I just want to be sure. So correct me if I'm wrong. But when you think of your desire, it feels real, but not in the context that you want. Like it feels realistic that people are nice to you, but not in the way that you would want. Like people are nice to you for their own motivations. They're not just nice to you for the sake of being nice. Like so there's kind of that malicious aspect to it, if I'm understanding right. If it's not if there's still aspects to that feel, if you're noticing any beliefs and assumptions that are not ideal, if there are things, I mean, obviously we wouldn't want people showing up with malicious intent, so I would be absolutely, addressing that, reconditioning that aspect to it. That people show up for me, they're kind, they're helpful, they're generous, they're compassionate, because they're good people. Right? Like that's what we would want for this example, that's what we would want the assumption to be, right? And not that there's any ill intent involved. So if you're noticing that there's still something resonating with the unwanted assumption, like the old story, the old assumption, if you're still noticing that you're resonating with that, I would take that as indication that we want to continue to imagine, we want to continue to put ourselves in that state where people always show up in a lovely way. People always show up, to help me or to, whatever the case may be. But I might be misunderstanding the question. If I am, let me know. Where'd that go? Hi, Missy. I have what might be an odd question. Can you explain how you can live in the wish fulfilled when what you're doing is completely opposite of what you would like to be doing? Good question. So, how do we live in the end if our circumstances in the 3D are opposite of what we want? If I'm understanding correctly, and I know this is usually the area that we struggle the most. Like if our circumstances are in contrast with what we would want, if our circumstances leave much to be desired, it can certainly feel challenging to imagine or believe that something better is going to happen. But the thing that we want to practice, and really emphasis on the practice part, is turning to imagination and shutting out the 3D. So, regardless of the 3D circumstances, you can go anywhere in imagination. Again, I know because of how we've been conditioned, this is not something that always comes naturally to most people, but you can anywhere under any circumstance imagine something different. So let's say, like, for example, if I'm chained to a park bench, I am, I can't move, I can't go anywhere, I'm clearly stuck in the physical 3D world. I can still close my eyes and imagine myself running free, right? I can be free as a bird, I can do anything. So despite the 3D being the opposite of what I desire, I can go within and imagine anything different. So again, I know it's going to take some practice getting acclimated to this new way of thinking, but that's effectively what we are practicing here. That even if the surrounding area, even if what we are experiencing is complete opposite of what we desire, ultimately that doesn't matter because you can go anywhere in imagination. Oh, thank you, David. It's good to see you. Happy to have you here. Missy, I can't make the live. I'm with SP all day, but for revision, I'm struggling with how many minutes should I take to revise an incident. I struggle as I think I should take like 10 minutes. Advice, please. Absolutely, Francesca. And I hope you're having a good day with your SP. But yeah, for revision, and this was something I should have added to my last video. Forgot this aspect of it. How many times or how much should we revise? Like for how long? And the answer is going to be different for everybody. There's no set amount of time that it again. It could be a couple seconds. It could be several minutes, depending on what you are aiming to revise. If you're noticing a lot of resistance to it, I mean, it really does depend. But what we do want to keep in mind is that we want to revise the memory, the incident, until that new revised memory feels more real to us. So when you recall that memory, it should be the new one that comes up for you. Like the old memory should start to feel detached from you. It should start to feel foggy. It's you might still recall it, but it's gonna feel very like far away from you, almost like you're remembering somebody else's memory. It's kind of weird. Um, but if you're noticing that old memory coming up, if you're noticing that old story coming up, and it's feeling very real to you still, then I would continue to revise. Yeah. What are you doing? Come here. Oh my god. Welcome, good girl Emma. Good to have you here. Welcome. Happy to see you all. I've missed you guys. I missed being here. Happy Sunday, Misty. You showed up in a dream last night and told me you went to another timeline. I hope you are doing well. I miss you and look forward to catching up next month. Oh, Sarah. That is so cool. I miss you too. I'm looking forward to catching up with you too. Hey. Oh, there's two parts here. Missy, have you been rejected by another guy in the past? Oh, yeah. Did you have a pattern like that? I've noticed that I've always had someone dump me after a while or lose interest. Do you think it's best to revise these situations? That you've always had great relationships? Yes. Yes. Um, Absolutely. I mean, my husband, as I talked about in my, I don't know if you've seen my SP story, but there was twice that he ended up leaving. Not going to go into all of that, but even before him, even like previous relationships, yeah, there was a distinct pattern. And it was absolutely stemming from my own insecurities, my fears of abandonment, fears of rejection. I was deeply insecure. And so, of course, that reflected and outpictured. So I personally revised even those previous relationships. I had no interest in getting back together with any of my exes, but regardless, I revised it to where, there was still a mutual respect. It was amicable, and it just felt so much better. The weight of that fear, it is it is so noticeable when you have that weight finally lifted from you. And it is a weight. So yes, I would revise. I would revise. Hmm. So happy to see you too, Serene. Where's my spot? Missy, I hope to be on during the whole live today. I don't even care to update you on the chronicles because everything has unfolded amazingly. My relationship with my daughter is awesome again. Carrie, that's amazing. Yay. Oh, I'm happy for you. Good. 2 seconds, guys. Excuse you. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Thank you for patience, everyone. All right, finding my spot. Where was my spot? You are always welcome to stop by my oceanfront villa on terraformed Mars, by the way, if you ever find yourself in a neighborhood on your travels. That is so kind of you, Sarah. I will absolutely take you up on that. After I use a technique and spend time dwelling in that experience, oh, let me see. After I use a technique and spend time dwelling in that experience, is there anything I do after coming out of it? Like telling myself it's done. This is true for me. Yes. That's how it should feel. So coming out of SATs or whatever technique you've been doing, inner conversations, affirmations, doesn't really matter. But I guess after coming out of it, it should feel done. It should feel like that just happened, if that makes sense. And probably need to make a video elaborate on this some more. Oh my god, you guys, you're so naughty. But yeah, you want to get to a place where it's done. And it's a distinct feeling. It's a noticeable feeling. But yeah, telling yourself this is done for me, this is true for me. Yeah. Yeah, that part's important. Hi, Missy. On your journey, did you have a lot of moments of reset? I keep feeling like I get close, then realize I'm not in the right state. How did you not get frustrated? Oh, I got frustrated. I got frustrated a lot on this journey. Um, there were several times that I wanted to quit so bad. I wanted to quit so bad. Um, what kept because yeah, it is frustrating when we feel like we're doing really well, like we're making a lot of progress, there's momentum, we're feeling good, and then something might happen, or a lot of times like I would just wake up with like feelings of anxiety, or if I didn't see things conform in the way I wanted it to, I would just get frustrated as hell. Yeah. um that happened quite a bit. What kept me going was thinking about the alternative. Like, what was my alternative? The alternative to changing myself was to stay the same and continue to repeat the same patterns, the same events, maybe different faces, but it would effectively be the same old, same old. So that is what kept me going. But if it is any reassurance, I know it's super annoying and frustrating, but it is normal. It is very normal for us to notice that sort of double-mindedness at first, or, you know, falling out of that state of the wish fulfilled and having to direct ourselves back. It, because it's a new state. Like, we're getting familiar with a new state of consciousness. So yeah, keep going. What are you doing? No. Tiny monsters. Marie, happy Sunday. I almost said Saturday. Happy Sunday. Good to have you here. As I do my inner work and expand on my self-concept while manifesting SP, what is my SP doing? Is he going through any inner changes and transformations as well? Do they see a change and difference in us? Good question. On this SP journey, what is SP doing? What are they thinking? What's going on with them? Well, what version of them? What version of them? Whenever I get this question, Missy, what is my SP doing and thinking right now? Well, what version of them? But if we're talking about the version of them that is lining up with the change in self-concept that we're making, then absolutely they're going to be going through the same kind of shifts and transformation as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, Hiba, I am so sorry that you're feeling so stressed. The first thing that I would recommend doing is just taking a moment and breathing, first and foremost. First thing is to just take some deep breaths and breathe and get yourself as centered as possible. If it feels like you first need to cry or have a moment, if you just need to let off some steam, that's fine. But if we are in that frantic and urgent and fearful state, like, that's going to be not the place that we manifest from. And I'm humbled that you say that I'm the solution, but I am not. Do not give your power away. Do not give your power away or anyone for that matter. Experience in your reality, you are the operant power. You are the solution. Deep breaths, deep breaths. You've got this. Hi, JT. Good to have you. Kelly. Oh, my favorites are here. My day is going really well so far, Daph. I hope yours is as well. Happy Sunday on a Sunday afternoon. I hope you are doing well as your health. And oh, thank you, Mohammed. You are sweet. Good to have you here. Hi, Missy. Sending you endless love. Oh, thank you, baby. My question is for tips on how to revise to the point of totally forgetting a memory. Much love. Good question. That would just be persisting with it. Continuing to go back to that new memory, revising and refining that new memory. And the more that you do so, it is going to start to feel like more cloudy and detached. It's going to start to feel difficult to recall. Like you've got amnesia around that. Yeah. But if to completely forget it, keep coming back to that new one. Keep coming back to that new memory. Yeah. Where was my spot? Sorry, guys. Little terrorists. Where the heck was my spot? Sorry. Hi, Missy. Can I manifest staying in a new place in like 2 days? Yeah. Yeah. You can literally manifest anything. If the question is, can I manifest blank? The answer is always yes. But to the degree that you can maybe suspend disbelief, and when it comes to deadlines and timelines, I know it can produce a lot of anxiety because we have a tendency to fixate on the time and notice, especially as the hours get closer to our deadline, it can feel more challenging. Um, I know, but this is where turning your attention and fixing your attention on being in the place that you want to be, and do not let your mind occupy anything else. But is it possible? Absolutely. Absolutely. Hi, Missy. How should I manifest an SP I met once months ago in a coffee shop whose name I don't know and face is now blurry in my mind? Good question. It doesn't matter if you can't see their face or even if you don't know their name. Doesn't matter. What came into my mind first thing was a conversation, imagining that you're having a conversation. Sorry that the camera's so shaky, by the way. It's the gremlins. But in your mind, imagine that you're having a conversation with a friend or a family member, and you're telling them about how you recently ran into this guy that you met at the coffee shop and you hit it off and you're going on a new date, or that you have been dating. You're relaying the story about how you reconnected and you've been doing really well and that you guys are having so much fun together. But that in itself implies the reconnection, the reunion, so to speak. So I would go something along those lines, but you don't need to visualize. It doesn't need to be a crystal clear picture or anything like that. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Excuse you. Be nice to your brother. I'm sure there's a video on this, but what is the best way to really convince yourself that circumstances don't matter? To really turn things around with an SP? Good question. I mean, the best way to convince yourself is to build your faith. And until we have done that, we're really kind of just taking other people's word for this. And it might feel challenging for us to accept this, considering that these teachings are quite bizarre. I mean, if we're talking about looking at this through the logical lens, you're a butthead. Sorry, I think we might have glitched there for a second. But yeah, building faith. Building faith. I have made videos talking about this, about ways that you can start to build your trust in yourself as the operant power, that circumstances truly don't matter because there are literally infinite states to choose from, and we're choosing and selecting states all the time. Um, but yeah, the best way, in my opinion, is just purely observation. Just if the law is real, then we should be able to see it, right? We should be able to observe that the things that I'm imagining, the things that I'm assuming are what I'm experiencing out here, right? Like I have a thought about something and then it comes to pass. I have a feeling that something's going to happen and then it does. I can look at events of my past. I can see that in the past, I thought something was going to go a certain way and then it did. I mean, we can see the evidence everywhere. We're just usually not paying attention because we're on autopilot. But yeah. I've got all three of them on me. Ah. What? What? Oh. Hello from Germany. My name is Linda. Today I manifested contact from a friend from 10 years ago. Wow, that is awesome. Yes. See, it doesn't matter how long it's been. It does not matter. That is amazing though. Congratulations. Hello from Portland. Hello. Wow, I love Portland. I grew up in Seattle, so we neighbors at one point. Hi, Misty. After asking for my manifestation, do I keep affirming until I get it, or do I stop? Good question. So, at some point, when that seed has been planted, oh my God, when that seed has been planted, you will naturally want to drop it. So, we want to imagine or we want to affirm until either it shows up or until we'll have a natural desire to drop it. We'll have, because at some point you will inevitably reach the Sabbath, which is the period of rest, which means that it is done. So you won't have any need to do techniques. You're not going to feel, it's going to feel redundant to continue to affirm, right? So we basically, we persist until we reach that place, the Sabbath, and then we're going to be naturally inclined to drop it. My question is, I get scared whether it will reflect in 3D. Like, I do everything right, but what if 3D doesn't change? I'm in very dire situations and I want to manifest out of them. I am so sorry, Tambi. And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling. That fear of, what if I do everything perfectly and it still doesn't happen? I still see nothing reflected. And actually, I have recorded a video talking about that and how to navigate that. But I mean, the most simple answer is another reason here why it's so important to be using self-observation to build our trust in this. Because again, if we're constantly fearful of what if it doesn't happen, like all of our attention is fixated on the problem. It's fixated on what we don't want to experience, which is the same old terrible circumstances. So, you know, Like, how do you know that it's going to reflect in 3D? Well, again, this is where we have to really start to prove to ourselves, gathering the evidence, so to speak. And just through observation alone. I mean, also you can do things such as, imagine something small and less significant, right? Sort of the list method as people talk about. But if we're going to use the list method, we do have to be mindful that we're not looking for these things, that we're not, trying to seek them or anything like that. I have made a video talking about that as well. But again, this is where faith becomes so important, truly. And I know it could be difficult. I know it can be difficult, but what I do also, the last thing that I want to note on this is, if at any point manifestation and the techniques in this journey is causing more stress and appears to be doing more harm to your mental health, take a break. Take a break. I know when we get to a place of such desperation, we can forget to take care of ourselves, but we have to try to at least. And I know you mentioned that the circumstances are dire and they're not good, but as much as you can, where you can, focus on your mental health as well. Build your faith, build your trust, continue to imagine, continue to go to that end. But if you need to, take a moment. If the pressure is getting too high, if it's starting to add more things to your plate, give yourself a moment to reset. Hey, Missy, how's it going? It's going good. Question: how do we stay in our new reality slash version of ourselves when we have a hard time letting go of old story of SP? Yep, that's that is the crux of the practice right here, right? How do we stay in our new state when we have a hard time letting go of the old story? Well, the point of going to that new state is to become more familiar with it. It's to start to recondition a lot of that old story. It's to get yourself familiar, to get yourself into that experience, so you're not as attached to that old story anymore. Like, that is the purpose that we serve here. So how do we stay in our new state? We continue to return to it until it feels like second nature, until we no longer need to consciously and deliberately redirect ourselves. But until we dwell there consciously, I'm sorry, until we dwell there as a new dominant state, we redirect. We continue to go back to it. This is where persistence comes in. This is the persistence aspect to this right here. Yeah. Revision doesn't feel real for me, but I want to learn the power of I am. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So you want to learn your true self. You want to become more acquainted with your true self, which is what we want to be doing. And it's normal, by the way, for revision not to feel the most natural thing in the world at first. That's normal. That's normal. Revision question. Last Sunday, I was locked in an elevator by myself for 1 hour. Oh, I thought I'll revise that. I imagined I got to my floor without incident. Please tell me, why do this? To experience a different state or why why are we revising? Is that the question just in general? Or are you speaking about the circumstance that happened? I'm just trying to make sure. Um, well, if you haven't seen my last video, Jackie, I would definitely recommend doing so because one thing that I hadn't done in my previous videos on religion is put emphasis on the importance of it, like why we want to be revising. Like in past videos, I talked about, how to apply it, what to do if we're noticing resistance, but I realized I hadn't really talked about the importance of it. I mean, I've definitely talked about it here on these lives, but we're doing this because whatever we experience in the past doesn't just stay in the past. It is still going to continuously affect us. And specifically, the beliefs and assumptions that were formed through past experience, that were formed or just what's the word I'm looking for? Emphasized, right? Like just further cemented for us because when we have an experience of something and the more it happens, it just becomes more firmly impressed. It feels more and more like a conviction. And we're always manifesting based on our convictions, our beliefs, our assumptions. So the past events that were not ideal, to change that is to change the present state and with it, the future. Hi, Missy. I decided to buy the pearl and go all in. Once I surrendered and stopped trying to control everything, my SP blocked me after 5 months. What do I make of this? Oh, Lena, I'm so sorry. Something similar happened to me on my journey, too. So, what we want to ask ourselves when we are noticing and observing 3D outcomes that are not ideal, like any 3D event or circumstance is feedback. It's feedback telling us where we have been dwelling in consciousness, what we have been occupying. And why we really want to be observant is because a lot of times on this journey, whether we're conscious of it or not, we suppress things. We suppress especially any negative feelings, any fears, any doubts. If like at some points we get so anxious about how we are feeling and reacting that we just try to shove it down and ignore it and just shove it down and ignore it. And once you bought the pearl, you're no longer doing that. So ask yourself, what have I been truly feeling as of late? Like, what has been my dominant state as of late? And this is also where we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. But regardless of what might be taking place, because I know seeing those kinds of things in the 3D is so disheartening and disappointing. But ultimately, it does not matter. Ultimately, as with anything else, it can be changed, it can be turned around. But it also gives us an opportunity to see, have I been occupying a state of fear? Has this been a fear that I've entertained or I've been worried about might happen? Right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, even with these so-called bad things, even with the terrible things that happen, we can still, through observation, see how the law was in effect here. Which, again, for the purpose of building our faith in this, is important that we do so, and also important why we be honest with ourselves. Yeah. Lastly, as always, revise it. Don't accept that that was the outcome. Revise it. Or don't accept that that is the final outcome, I should say. Is being in high vibration a very important ingredient for manifestation? No, no. So that is a term very much from the law of attraction community, being high vibration or high vibe, which I mean, of course, to be clear, it's always we would rather be in a good mood than a bad mood. Certainly, I think everyone would prefer that, unless you are a masochist. Um, but is it very important or required? No, no. You can manifest something even if you're in a terrible mood. You, that happens because it ultimately comes down to what we are feeling, what we are assuming to be true. Like, even if I'm really annoyed or frustrated, I still know something to be true, right? Like, even on bad days where I'm like, dealing with a bunch of microaggressions or whatever's going on, like, I still know that I'm married. I still know that, like, all of these things, right? It's about knowing, it's about believing. So you don't need to be high vibe all the time. In fact, there's a lecture where Neville talks about, one of his followers who would use moods like annoyance to aid in his manifestation. He would imagine situations where he was feeling very annoyed, but implied that he had what he desired, right? Like, he imagined himself standing in line at the bank holding a check, but the line was super long. And so he felt really annoyed, like, God, I have to wait in this long line to get all my money, right? So, no, this isn't about being high vibe all the time. Missy, if my bridge includes the absolute worst fears realizing, is that part of the bridge or does it mean I missed the mark? Good question. Well, if a circumstance turned out in a way that was not ideal, if you had been imagining something, if you had been aiming for something and it didn't come to fruition the way you would have wanted it to, then that is missing the mark. However, we don't need to worry because we can always take aim again. That's why you cannot fail, because you can always take aim again, even if you miss the mark. It truly does not matter. The bridge, we're not going to know until hindsight. We're not going to see the bridge when we're on it. It's going to be something that, after it's unfolded, looking back, we're going to see how things unfolded the way that they did. Right? So sometimes we get stuck in this linear time thinking mode of like, is that the bridge? Is that the bridge? We don't know the bridge until after it's happened. But if something happens in a way that you don't want it to, yes, that has missed the mark, but it doesn't matter because you can always take aim again. Good questions to get, guys. Rosie, I really like this comment. So Neville drank like wild, and he also just had his own flaws. We're all not perfect. Even Neville agreeing on that. Neville himself was also just a human being, and that's what makes him more special. I agree. I agree. Neville was not saintly, right? He loved drinking. He drank heavily. So did Abdullah. Abdullah was the one who would tell Neville, like, you have too many quibbles. At the time, Neville was strictly vegan and celibate and all these things. And Abdullah was like, you've got too many quibbles. Like, as humans, we are not perfect. And that's literally the point. So the idea that we need to be perfect at this it's a farce. I agree 100%. Hi, Missy. I've been manifesting my SP, but not getting much movement. My self concept is great. I get a lot of attention from men. I've also been manifesting money, but haven't had any success with SP. Any tips? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, to be clear, because this is something that gets confusing, when we talk about self concept, what a lot of people mistakenly take that to mean is self esteem. God, these two. Be careful. We mistake it for self esteem, right? So the beliefs and assumptions that I have about myself, like I am loved, I am chosen, I am worthy, blah, blah, blah. Which is, I mean, don't get it wrong. It is really important and ideal that we have good self esteem, but that's not the whole picture. When we talk about self concept, it's the beliefs and assumptions we have about ourselves. I am loved, I am worthy, I am chosen, but also the assumptions and beliefs that we have about other people. So in this case, if you're seeing a lot of attention from other men, if you're noticing that you're feeling great about yourself, what are the first thoughts and reactions that you notice when you think about your person? Is there any remnants of that old story? Is there still a fear that he's not going to come back? Is there still, you know, any angers of the past? That's usually where, because I mean, it might be that your self-esteem is amazing. You feel confident, you feel good, which again is a good thing, but what are the beliefs and assumptions that you have about your SP? And are you noticing any resistance there? And if that is the case, then that's what you want to focus on reconditioning. Yeah. You guys are so good to each other. I love it. Sorry, trying to find my spot, guys. 2 seconds. How do we get rid of double-mindedness for good? Once we've identified that we're doing it, how do we release it? Good question. I mean, getting rid of double-mindedness for good is changing the belief for good, changing the assumption. Because when we have an assumption about something, if we assume something is a certain way, we're not going to be back and forth about that. right? Yeah. And I mean, to be clear, double-mindedness is frustrating as it is. It's normal thing that we experience on this journey. So I say that because I know we can get stressed out if we're noticing a lot of double-mindedness. It is normal. We get rid of it for good by reconditioning that old assumption, going back to that new state until it feels normal for you, until it feels natural. Hi, Missy. I'm trying to meditate and breathe and concentrate to do my techniques, but I still feel anxiety, not related to my manifestation, and it's complicated for me to be still. Any advice? Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, I experienced a lot of this. I experienced a lot of this too. Um, you know, I had such a difficult time sitting still. If it's meditation for some people can be especially challenging. Um, and may even at first make us feel more anxious. And if you're noticing that, if you're noticing difficulty standing still, I mean, number one, if you're able to do even 30 seconds, even 1 minute of meditation, like anything is better than nothing. But that, don't push it if if you're noticing yourself getting more anxious. But when you're able, as you're able, like even little bits and pieces at a time is going to make a difference. That said, if it's feeling like too much for you, there's always different ways that we can go about relieving anxiety, alleviate anxiety. You can go for a walk, you can go for a drive, you can, you know, do a day of self-care, you can get yourself have a nice bubble bath, watch your favorite movie or series, listen to make a playlist of all your favorite music. Anything like that, anything that can help us with just alleviating some of that stress level, bringing it down bit by bit. So I do talk about meditation a lot. It is something that without question has changed my life, but at first I couldn't do more than 1 or 2 minutes at a time. It felt like I was gonna jump out of my own skin. So whatever amount you can do is going to make a difference. And bit by bit, you're gonna start to become more familiar with it. It's gonna become more natural for you. Is it normal that I seem to lose interest in my SP as I work on my self-concept? Mm, that's normal. That's normal. It might feel that way. It might feel like you're losing interest, but what's going on is that you are moving out of a state of desiring, like wanting someone, craving after someone, having them up on a pedestal. Like the more that you focus on changing that and focusing on you, you're going to notice less of those intense emotions around your person. And it might feel to us like we're losing interest or giving up. It's not inherently the case. It's just that the state is becoming more natural. The state of the wish fulfilled is starting to become more natural for you. And the state of the wish fulfilled is, you and your SP being together, you're not going to have the same kind of feelings that you would from that old state of desiring. I hope that makes sense. But if you're ever not sure, you can just ask yourself a simple question. If my SP showed up at my door right now, if they rang the doorbell, they had flowers, and they were begging for me to come back, they wanted to have another chance, would I take them back? If the answer is yes, then you know that You still desire your SP. You're just no longer in that state of like wanting and trying to get them from a place of not having. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, this is normal. I would love to find out how you handle letting go of the how and when. That's been my issue. Yep. And my next video that I have coming out tomorrow is addressing this because this is purely ego. Our inability to let go of the how and the when and needing to know all the answers and needing to control everything. I mean, quite frankly, you're not going to know the how and the when. We're not going to know. We're just not ever going to know. And we do have to be at a place of peace with that, because to the conscious thinking mind is so narrow in scope, and you could not fathom all of the ways in which things can unfold for me. Not in a million years. We're never going to know. We're never going to know. And that's going to be less and less of a thing as you continue to build your faith. You can see there's a theme here. As you continue to grow your trust in yourself as the operant power, that's going to be less and less of a notable thing. You're going to trust the Father. You're going to trust the higher self, whatever you want to call it. You're going to trust God. God's doing all the heavy lifting, not the ego you. Hello from the UK. Hello, Ellie. Good evening to you. Let me see. A lot of questions today about faith. Good. That is good. Build it. We must build it. Don't chew on that. Don't chew on that. Hi, Missy. Did you also experience that revisions play out very subtly, very naturally, and it's not even a big surprise? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And that's also why we need to be observant, because things can play out in a way that is so subtle and so natural that we miss it entirely. We overlook it entirely. Yeah. Because in our mind, we're almost expecting this, like, huge, amazing thing to happen. Like, that's mind blowing. And those events and circumstances do happen. Like, things will manifest that will blow your mind. But most of the time, it's so subtle that we will miss it if we're not paying attention. Ah, our energy. Hello, Missy. I know no action is needed, but I'm having trouble with things that I have to get physically done, e.g., projects, studies, work, and even the small stuff. I'd like to change that. Any tips? Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so no action is needed. Yeah, I would imagine a scene. I would imagine something that implies that everything that you need to have done is already done. So perhaps it's a feeling of relief because all of the projects and things that needed to be taken care of are taken care of. That thank God everything's done. Thank God everything on my list that I needed to do has already been checked off. And that's where you're going here. And continuing to go back to until until it feels natural, until it feels like that has been planted, so to speak. Mhm. Come here. Come here. I've been doing robotic affirmation for the last 2 months, but since a week ago, I've started revising. So now I do robotic affirmations for both in morning. So I use robotic affirmations in the morning and revision before sleeping. Can I use both techniques? Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. Yeah, there's no right or wrong way of applying the techniques or, you know, figuring out a schedule for yourself. That sounds just fine. Welcome, Michelle. Good to have you here. Thank you, Moondoll. I'm glad they've been helpful for you. Uh-oh, are you a couple people have said that their questions aren't appearing. That's not good. I'm checking the settings real quick, you guys. I'm so sorry. One sec. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why people are saying that their questions are disappearing. Maybe try putting it in the chat again. Sorry, guys. Hi, Missy. I have depression and struggle to stay in the wish fulfilled. So I just try to stay in the wish fulfilled in the moments I do sats and affirm, then forget about it. Any advice on this? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No. And when we're suffering from anxiety and depression, I know that that can, it's another, feels like we're scaling another mountain on top of everything else. But to be clear, one thing that I did was I just focused on the moments where when I was feeling better, when I was feeling okay, when I was feeling okay, or when I wasn't feeling overly sad, I would take advantages of the moments where I felt good or even just neutral. If I was feeling particularly depressed or angry or anxious, I didn't try to force myself in those moments to go to the end. Like just really taking advantages of the moments where we can. And if at other times we're feeling too anxious or don't force it. Don't force it. Meow. Be free, baby. Oh, Jackie, if it wasn't, I mean, for things in the day that maybe felt a little inconvenient, but didn't really have an effect on you, you don't have to revise. You know, it is entirely up to you what you want to revise at the end of the day. But if it doesn't feel like it's, if you're kind of feeling neutral or whatever about it, yeah, it is entirely up to you. My question: I can manifest many things, but I can't seem to hold on to my manifestations. I get exactly what I want and then I lose it. How do I keep it? What subconscious pattern need do I need what subconscious pattern do I need to do? Excellent question. Excellent question. This is why I go on and on and on about the importance of changing the beliefs and assumptions. This is why I go on and on and on about taking the focus away from trying to change the 3D to changing the inner world. Because I did the same thing right there. I did the same thing. I did see a change in my 3D. I did manifest my person back. But because I was still effectively the same, because I still had the same fears, same doubts, same insecurities, I manifested the old patterns. And then that's what's going on here. There's patterns because some part is holding on to an old story, an old assumption. So the focus needs to be on changing you, being the version of you who has the beliefs, has the assumptions that lines up with the desire that you want to experience. So if I want to be in a loving, committed relationship with my specific person, then I would want to feel loved, prioritized, confident in myself and in us. I want to feel, yeah, chosen. I want to feel safe and secure. This is just an example, by the way, but notice how that is the conception. That is the conception of self, the version of me that I want to embody, because that is what's going to be compatible with that reality. I'm going to make a video to drive this point home because I'm not here to teach you guys just how to make a temporary 3D change. I'm not going to do that. Nope, stop it. Buttheads. Does the language matter in manifestation? I affirm in my mother tongue, watch a lot of law of assumption content in English, which is basically my second language. No. Mm-mm. I work with many, many people that are bilingual, if not trilingual, multiple languages. Whatever resonates, whether that's English or your mother tongue, the subconscious mind knows. The subconscious mind knows. You're crazy. Is manifesting a lottery win actually a case of trying to manifest how the wealth comes to us? Shouldn't we just imagine being wealthy and having all the trappings and leaving the how to the Q feel? Yes. Yes. Short answer is yes. I mean, to expand on that, I have met and talked to people that genuinely desired to have the experience of the lottery win. Like the thrill of, you know, seeing the winning numbers coming up, the holding of the check. But to be abundantly clear, like, most of the time, I would say that wanting to manifest a lottery win, at least in part, is because you are trying to figure out the how. You cannot conceive of any other way that it could possibly happen for you. And if that is the reason that we're going that route, if we feel like the only way that I can get a large amount of money in a short period of time is with the lottery, so that's what I have to imagine, then yeah, then we're just focused on the how. And honestly, the best thing that we can do is just focus on being wealthy, the state of abundance, the state of having everything that you want already. And what would that be like? What would that look like? Do you have a nice house? Do you have a private jet? Do you have 3 houses? Do you have, you know, like, go nuts with it, right? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we really, really need to know the how of things. To the ego needs to know the how. Ego needs to feel like it's in control. How do I stop fearing my negative thoughts? Every time I have negative thoughts, I give negative meaning. I am trying to stop doing that. Uh, you are not alone in this, Mr. Spaceman, which I also love your username, by the way. That is awesome. I would say everyone has had similar to what you're describing, becoming fearful of our thoughts. I have made a video talking about this. I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't yet. Um, you just type in Missy Renee, you know, uh, overcoming negative thoughts. I forget the title of the video, but the point is your thoughts are not what holds power over you. Your thoughts do not have the power here. Thoughts are just that. They're literally just thoughts. They're a byproduct of whatever state of consciousness we are occupying. The only creative power that exists is I am. That is God. That is consciousness. That is awareness. The higher self, whatever you want to call it. You have no need to give your power to your thoughts. The thinker is always more powerful than the thoughts. It's just feedback. When we're noticing a negative thought, we say, thanks for the feedback. Good to know. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to give all my fear and attention to it because it's just a thought. It's literally just a thought. It's like it has as much power as a cloud or a leaf. Check out the video I made. What are you doing? Are you vicious? You just realized that you're a tiny apex predator? Of course, spaceman. I got you. Oh, hell no. Hang on. Man, I think there are questions disappearing. That's annoying. Hi, Missy. I saw a post on Facebook from third party That triggered me. I try to revise but can't. I refuse to give up and continue to try to do sats with SP, but she keeps popping up in my scenes, trying to not give her attention, but it keeps happening. Also, when I am able to have a scene with my SP, it feels amazing, and I love the time we spend, but the feeling of fulfillment fades so soon. Why is that? Mm. Oh, Kelly, I'm so sorry. So, are you having difficulty with revision? Is that what's going on here? Because that's it's not uncommon. I know revision's a weird animal. She keeps popping up in my scenes. So I guess I'm trying to get clear on what you mean, but you tried to revise but can't. Like you're noticing a lot of resistance, I presume. I admire the brazen impudence, the persistence there. Um, so with my SP it feels amazing, and I love the time we spend, but the feeling of fulfillment fades so soon. Why is that? I mean, if you're noticing the feeling fading, you mean after going into imagination and then coming out of it, the feeling doesn't carry over for very long, correct? I take it that's what you mean? Um, it could be indication that falling back into the old state, if there's been a lot that has happened or taken place lately, that is not ideal. Um, might start feeling a little bit difficult to maintain that new state. But I'm curious as to why, because I we've talked before about revision, and I want to say that you didn't used to struggle with it, right? I mean, absolutely, we want to continue to go to the end. Absolutely, we want to continue to go into imagination. Um, getting yourself into the drowsy state, feeling amazing. I'd be observing and seeing if there's any anger or resentment or frustration or anything like that coming up. Is those are what typically can make it feel difficult for us to maintain a new state. I hope that makes sense. Doesn't carry over too long. I would make sure to just whether in meditation or just taking a moment for yourself and see what might still be coming up. Like what is still like in regard to your circumstances, in regard to you and SP, what is the feel like just in the normal day to day without trying to do sats or anything like that, what is the natural and normal feelings coming up? And is there anything that might be resistance or I'm sorry, like anger or frustration or anything like that is what I'm curious about. Yeah. Girl, let's catch up soon. Let's catch up soon. Go crazy. I guess the key to manifestation is just flowing with allowance regarding literally everything, be it negative or positive. Because as it unfolds and we look back, it's like those negatives were also a kind of bridge. So just letting whatever happens happen. Our work is just changing our beliefs and have faith that everything is directing us towards our manifestation. Bingo. Bingo. Mm-hmm. 5 stars, no notes. That is perfect. It's the art of allowance. Stop trying to fight against the current. Stop trying to fight the negative things, the negative thoughts. Going with the flow. Mm-hmm. Put a lot of this emphasis in my next video. Hi, Missy. The manifestation is done means you believe it's done, but must wait to show up in the 3D, right? If so, it isn't it equal to having hope that your desire will come true? It said that you should it said that you shouldn't have hope. Where's the next part of your question? I think I'm missing part of your question there. The manifestation is done means you believe it's done, but must wait to show up in the 3D. If so, isn't it equal to having hope that your desire will come true? It said that you shouldn't have hope. It's not a hoping. It's not a hoping and wishing and feeling anxious about it showing up or not. No, no. I mean, yes, when it's done and we do not see it in the 3D, we can still know something is done without the 3D proof. We can absolutely we do that all the time already. There's plenty of things that we assume that are true for us, that are done for us, even if we don't have the 3D proof in front of us. Like we literally do that all the time. We want to feel around our desire like that. Like this is a given. Bye, Yara. Oh, thank you for being here. It is so good to see you as always. Missy, I still struggle with waiting for the 3D to reflect my new beliefs. What should I tell myself while waiting for my new beliefs to come into fruition, especially in a difficult situation? So, we ideally don't want to keep ourselves in a state of waiting. If we are noticing that we feel like we're waiting for the 3D to change, that in and of itself is indication that we want to move into a different state. Like we're not in the state of the wish fulfilled if it feels like we're waiting. Like anxiously waiting, I take it. What should I tell myself while waiting for my new beliefs? So if you notice that you're feeling anxious and waiting for your 3D to conform, that's key indication to you that you want to go back to imagination, go back to that end, go back to that experience as if it is already done for you. It's already happened. Like in imagination, you are experiencing it in real time. You are not doing a technique to get a future outcome. You are having an experience right now. And that part I cannot emphasize hard enough. Because where we start waiting is because we're thinking that the techniques are a tool to get something in the future, and that's not what's taking place here. I might need to make another video about this because I know it is confusing. But basically, if you're noticing that you're feeling anxious and waiting for 3D confirmation, that is feedback that you want to go back to that end, live that experience again right now, as it's taking place right now. Oh, I fell asleep. Little monster fell asleep. I promise I am not removing any questions. I don't know why the chat is doing that. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I know it is not a requirement to feel emotions when affirming or having inner conversations, but what does it mean if you feel things when you do one but not the other? Good question, Renee. Also, I love your name. Um, what does it mean if you feel things when you do one affirmation but not another? Like for one affirmation, you might notice an emotion or feeling come up for you, but not another one. So if you're noticing feelings coming up for one affirmation, it's because it resonates, right? It's because it feels more believable to us. If we a lot of times if we're not feeling anything or actively feeling like it's not true, well that's the answer. Yeah. The feelings tell you what you believe, what you are believing. Like if I were to, for example, sit here and affirm that, I have platinum blonde hair, I'm going to have that feeling of like, that's not true. That's not true at all. Right? So it's feedback. It's all feedback. I do have galaxy nails. How can we stay present and focused on our vision when something undesirable happens? I do a lot of meditating, but still, when something pops up, I can't stop feeling the hurt or the pain. And that's normal. That's normal. Yeah, if something painful comes up, you're going to feel hurt. I mean, you're human, of course. If something undesirable comes up, we're going to get upset. We're going to feel anxious. We're going to feel sad. We're going to feel angry. Of course. That's a subconscious reflex. Like we literally can't even help it. And we don't need to try to stop it. We don't need to try to, because I say this because a lot of times we become fearful of our reactions and then we try to suppress it. We try to shove it down. We try to ignore the pain that's coming up for us. Don't do that. Please don't do that. It is okay if you get upset because something hurtful happened. Of course you're going to get upset. Again, you're human. As Neville would say, if you need to explode and be angry, then explode. Just do not let the sun descend upon your anger, which means that once we've let ourselves have a moment to be human and cry and be mad, whatever we need to do, and that we just want to revise it, right? Like once we start to come down, once we start to maybe, feel less anxious, because usually after a good cry, we feel relief, right? It feels like a huge weight has been taken off of us. From there, then we can go back and revise. We can go back and change how it happened in imagination. Yeah. But yeah, in that moment when we're triggered, we're not going to be able to stay present and focused. We're probably going to go off. Yeah. And that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. You are so welcome. Hi, Missy. I remember you saying one of your client success stories is winning a large sum of money from the lottery. Was winning the lottery her desire or was it the money? What was her technique? Good question. Um, it was not a lottery win, actually. I mean, she toyed with the idea, but that was not the thing that she focused. She just all she did was focused on the state of abundance. So she just would imagine herself as the version of her that had a lot of money. So she focused on, like she would get clear on what she wanted to have as far as like her house. She imagined, giving money to charity, giving money to friends and family, being able to help others because she was very big on that. But that was mainly, I mean, she kept it very general. She didn't, again, like I remember a conversation about this too. It was not like I can only get money through this route. Like we need to get that out of our mind. We need to stop conditioning the desires. Yes. What is it? What is it? You're fine. You big baby. Yeah. If you just allow yourself to focus on that version of you who was already experiencing that world, experiencing that reality, you're already abundant. You are already living the life that you desire to live, just letting yourself get familiar with it. Just practicing getting familiar with that state. Nothing more, nothing less. Until it becomes complete second nature. Oh, and on that note, I've got 3 sleepy kitties on my lap, and I got to put these little monsters to bed. So, do got to get going, you guys. My apologies for that, but thank you so much for being here, all of you, each and every one of you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Do keep eyes out. I've got a new video coming out tomorrow. Be aiming to make more consistent uploads, more frequent uploads. So keep eyes up for that. Don't forget to, if you want to work together, check out the waitlist for one-on-one coaching. And I hope to see you here next week. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry, but I will return. Much love, you guys. Take care. Keep being amazing. Say bye. Till next time.